This topic, of all the ones that we've talked about, they've all been my favorite. And so this one is my new favorite. This topic, because it's so hot, it's so relevant, and it's so staying, meaning it's not going anywhere. We're in it for the long haul when it comes to GLP-1. So I just want everyone to have an appreciation for that. It's here to stay. All right, so thank you for joining. I'm so grateful. This means everything to me to be able to share this with all of you. It's my great passion. So I look forward to these Thursday evenings because they're so fun. So the topic at hand today is GLP-1. What does GLP-1 stand for? It stands for glucagon. That's a hormone like peptide. So we're going to talk about glucagon-like peptide 1. It's a hormone, and it's made of protein. That's why it's glucagon-like peptide. Glucagon is a hormone that's secreted from our pancreas that helps increase blood glucose. So insulin, I'm sorry, I made a little bit of a mistake there. Glucagon-like polypeptide, one, increases insulin secretion, which then helps lower glucose. But glucagon itself, just talking about glucagon so that you have the perspective of what glucagon and how it's different from GLP-1, increases blood sugar. And that's not good. We don't want to increase our blood sugar. We want to drop our blood sugar. So we want insulin to get secreted so it brings our blood sugar down. All right. I didn't want to get so sciencey right from the start, so I probably lost half of you. So let me gather you all back in here. Welcome to tonight's call on GLP-1. Let's dive into some of the fun facts because I think that's probably a better place to start. So let's go to that next slide. And this is what we'll be talking to you tonight about on that slide. And we'll have the topics of the learning objectives on the right-hand side. So it's going to be like a class, fun class lecture here. Okay, thank you. So GLP-1, it's the hormone. It's produced in our small intestine. So when we think about when we take in food and how it moves through our body, it comes in obviously through our mouth. We actually even begin to prepare for food before we even start to consume it. We have lots of different things going on inside of our brain, lots of things going inside of our stomach and our intestines, even before we eat the food. But when we do eat the food, glucagon-like peptide 1 is secreted, and it's produced in those L cells of the small intestine. So what are the functions of GLP-1? Why has it gotten so much interest and emphasis over these last several years? Well, here's why. When we take in GLP-1, unlike glucagon, and that's where I was starting at the beginning, glucagon is a hormone that opposes insulin. So where insulin brings our glucose down in our blood, glucagon brings it up. But glucagon, like I call it polypeptide because that's how I learned it back in the 80s. But glucagon, like peptide, I'm going to just call it GLP. GLP-1 helps increase this release of insulin. And you see that right there. When we eat certain foods, and we're going to learn about those tonight, and other lifestyle strategies, we can trigger insulin release without the normal pathways that insulin gets secreted through this GLP-1 hormone because it releases insulin from the pancreas. What that does, as I already said, when we secrete insulin, it helps bring glucose down. And that's a good thing. We don't want glucose. Glucose is sugar. I love telling the analogy to kind of keep this in perspective. If you were to have made a pancake breakfast in the morning, and let's say you had a whole bunch of maple syrup, again, Canada and US, we have wonderful maple syrup in both countries. And let's say you spilled a little bit of maple syrup on the counter, and then you got home and you forgot to clean it up. And after work, you got home and you noticed on the counter there was some maple syrup. You happened to put your hand on it. It was very sticky. And your hand was kind of stuck on the counter after you put your hand there. Well, that's the same thing that happens in the body. We don't want to have a lot of glucose, sugar, circulating in the blood all the time. If we do, things get really sticky. Things get really viscous, meaning it doesn't flow well. It's like dirty oil in your car. Imagine really, never changing your oil in your car. It moves and looks like sludge in your car, and that's what it does do. And that's what happens when we have a lot of blood glucose, sugar, traveling in our blood. So the good news is we have some hormones, in this case insulin and GLP-1, that help bring the glucose level down in the blood. It reduces the stickiness. It reduces the viscosity. Does that make sense to everybody? Hopefully. That's a fun little analogy to think about. So it makes your countertop super clean. It's like taking out the sponge and the soap, GLP-1, and cleaning all the sugar away. The other thing that GLP-1 does, is it blocks glucagon, and that's good. Remember, because glucagon is the opposite of insulin. So it helps lower your glucose, because if glucagon was constantly being secreted, and I know the two names are kind of, similar, obviously they are, but they do opposite things. GLP-1 blocks glucagon, so it doesn't allow the sugar to continue to be released out into the blood. And that's a really favorable thing. Third, GLP-1 slows our stomach emptying. So it just keeps things in our stomach a little bit longer. And so it aids in digestion in many ways. It keeps the food there so that we can act on it and we can break it down and release it more slowly into the blood, right? So you don't get a really high spike. GLP-1 allows us to kind of slow things down and secrete it slower or release it slower into the blood. Pretty cool. So that's GLP-1. We have it natural in our body. I know sometimes people think these shots, these GLP-1 agonist shots, are the only thing that we have in our body that are GLP-1, and that's not true. We have GLP-1 naturally in our body. The problem is sometimes it doesn't function as well, doesn't get secreted or produced as much as it should. So people end up getting some exogenous or outside of our body help through the form of an injection or a pill. We'll talk about that in a second. But just for our own body's GLP-1 that we naturally produce, these are the things that it does. And then the fourth and final fun fact about GLP-1 that our bodies naturally produce in our small intestines is that the GLP-1, when it gets produced in the small intestine, it escapes out of the gastrointestinal tract, the intestines, gets into the blood, and guess what? It travels to the brain. And guess what it does? It knocks on the door of the hypothalamus, which is a part of our brain, and it says, hey, can I come in? And the hypothalamus says, of course, you're one of my best friends, GLP-1. Come on over, have some tea. And what it does in the meantime is it tells the brain that it's full, it's satisfied, it doesn't need to keep eating. So that's another benefit of GLP-1 in our bodies. All right, so there you have it. That's GLP-1. That's glucagon-like peptide 1. So it's an agonist, meaning it helps do its job really well, the ones that when we take it in from outside of our body. So let's transition into the next slide. All right, so just staying on this topic just for one more second, I wanted to show you a visual of it so that you can kind of get this, overall, overarching, holistic perspective of what happens when we release GLP-1 inside of our body naturally. Two things that it does is it helps us control our weight and it helps us control our blood sugar when it's operating and being produced properly. So you can see insulin secretion goes up. That's good because it helps clear the glucose and the sugar from the counter after you've spilled it. It just removes the sugar from your blood. That's a good thing. In terms of permeability of the intestines, it actually lowers it. That's good. We don't want to have things leaching out of our intestines uncontrollably. It slows down gastric emptying. We said that that's a very good thing. So we have that slowing down of gastric emptying. And then we have things like fat production going on a little bit less in the liver, and that's good because then it won't contribute to what we call fatty liver disease. We reduce fat storage, and then the hunger and satiety control. All right, next slide. So those are the GLP-1 health benefits. So now let's dive into this major area of interest for the majority of the world, I would have to say, that's struggling with their weight. How is it that we can manage our weight in a healthy way? Because a lot of times, people just think, oh, lose weight, you're going to be healthy. It doesn't matter what you do, just lose the weight, you're going to be healthy. And nothing is farther from the truth. I hope you've gotten that out from the previous talks that we've had. You can lose weight really unhealthily. I'll say that again. You can lose weight very unhealthily. And so we don't believe in that here at Isagenix. We want to take the high road and have you do it the right way. So as you see on this diagram, the arrow that's moving to the left in red is not healthy weight loss. The arrow that's moving in the yellow down is healthy weight loss. And so if we just look at the one to the left, the suboptimal treatment of weight loss. We lose muscle mass. That's what sarcopenic obesity means. It means you're losing your muscle at the same time you're preserving your body fat. That's terrible. You never want to encounter a situation where you are reducing your calories and losing your healthy, metabolically active lean body mass at the expense of you saving your fat mass. Unfortunately, that happens. We have a reduction in muscle mass. We have a very high risk of what we call weight cycling. So your weight goes up even more than it was when you started, and your body fat does as well. And you have an increased risk of this loss of muscle that's already occurring as you're aging. Whereas when we have a healthy weight loss, that is, you have a targeted, I'll say that again, a targeted, kind of a pinpoint bullseye of your body composition that you want to target to lose weight, and that's your body fat. So you optimize your muscle mass, you minimize your loss of healthy lean muscle mass, which is sarcopenic obesity and sarcopenia, the loss of muscle and the increasing in fat. So you minimize that, and then you improve your functional independence, your mobility, your quality of life. All right, that's the goal. So we want the one that's in yellow. We want to have optimal weight loss on our journey of transforming our health. Next slide. So here, what we've done now, we have artificially synthesized GLP-1. Why not? GLP-1 is awesome. You know, our bodies naturally produce GLP-1. It works really well when it's working right, but in some people, it's not working well. It's not being produced at the level it needs to be. So guess what? They need a little bit extra help. And that's why people decide to choose to take the injections or the pills. And so these are the GLP-1 meds that we have. And guess what? They are called mimetics. That's what we call them in the scientific medical world, meaning they act just like you. You know what a meme does? Think of a meme. Every time you move, you talk, you do something, it's mimicking you. It's like a mirror. That's what a mimic is. It's a mirror of what you want. Excuse me. So a GLP-1 med mimics the GLP-1 that's naturally produced, the hormone naturally produced in our body. That's what they do. So they're called agonists. That's what we call them, or receptor agonists. All right. These are the different drugs that we have. We have several that are designed to help lower blood sugar. That's why you see the diabetes there, because an increase in blood sugar is associated with your risk for type 2 diabetes. And again, type 2 diabetes is no longer just for people that are over the age of 40. When I was in school, that's what we were told. And that's what we were learning it, because that's all that who got it. Now we know that we have young children, young boys and girls who are developing type 2 diabetes. And so we have type 2 diabetes developing in younger boys and girls. So it's no longer an aging disease. And then you see the ones that are used for weight loss. So the ones Ozempic, Wegovy is more of the diabetes, although that is also for weight loss as well. So this is not always, it's a lot about the dosing of these drugs, but generally speaking, this is the categorization. All right, so next slide. All right, so here's what we have so far. Here's kind of the preliminary information and the research and the science behind these, what we call incretin mimetic drugs. That's just a fancy name. It's IMD, it's an acronym, but it really stands for GLP-1 agonist. That's how I want you to think about the IMD that you see there. Incretin is just an insulin secreting substance that helps the body secrete more insulin in this case. So it's an incretin mediated mimetic drug. All right, so here's what we have. Here's body weight, as you see. And so when you take on these injections or the pill, depending upon how you're taking it, most people are using an injection, you have a pretty significant and quick weight loss. And you see that in the solid line in the treatment, the obesity treatment with these GLP-1s in the solid blue line. So they have less calorie consumption, less appetite, right? They're less hungry, they're more satiated, they decrease body weight. But guess what? We have now been able to observe very closely that they have also a decrease in their energy expenditure, the number of calories they're burning. And guess what? That's not good. When you reduce the number of calories you burn, you now make it much, much easier for your body to go into fat storage. I call it hibernation. So think of a bear or an animal hibernating over the winter. They stack on all that weight because their energy expenditure goes down to almost zero, right? They're slumbering in the hibernating cave. All right, so when they go off these drugs, and that's what the dotted arrow is showing, look at this. It's like a rocket taking off. They have massive increases in appetite. They have increased food intake. Their energy expenditure, unfortunately, stays low. And therefore, they have a significantly increased risk of weight regain, we call it recidivism. All right, next slide. So what does this science actually show? So this is that, I would call it the hallmark study that got published in the New England Journal of Medicine. Another one came out in the Annals of Internal Medicine. So the Annals of Internal Medicine, Lancet, and the New England Journal of Medicine have published these pioneering studies on the early data from these GLP studies that were conducted. And so here's what happened. And as you can see on the left-hand side, they're showing you a 68-week treatment with the GLP-1s. That's in the blue line that you see dropping precipitously there on the screen. And so it drops, and they had massive weight loss. You see that. Weight loss is over here on the side. So they had like a 16% weight loss. That's massive. Whereas the placebo group, and always remember the placebo effect works, even those that were not taking the GLP-1, they were losing a little bit of weight, about 2%, nothing, special. But look what happens here. When they had them discontinue, so a 52-week off treatment. So they followed them after they took them off the drug. And look at this. Here it is, the rocket taking off. They had a massive, in a very short period of time, just a couple of weeks, they were having a massive return of their body weight back. And so that's not good. They were only down in like 5% by the time they finished collecting that data. So we know that there's a real risk when you go off these medicines. So that's just the one thing I wanted to highlight. But what can we do while people are on these medications, these GLP-1 analogs, agonists, in terms of the loss of the healthy, lean body mass that we said we don't want to do? That was the weight loss strategy that we clearly do not want to have happen. All right, next slide. So here's what happened. Here are those two studies. And I just want to walk you through this because this is so, once you allow me to share this with you, you're going to have just like an absolute astonished aha moment. So if you look over here on the left-hand column, the age-related muscle mass, that's about what we are losing on somewhat of a regular basis after we reach the age of 30. We have this age-related decline in our muscle mass. It's called age-related sarcopenia. So it naturally occurs in people. We can safeguard against it, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But it generally happens at about 0.5 to 1% per decade. And some people, it's accelerated a little bit quicker than that. Sometimes they have upwards of 0.5 of percentage loss per year in certain cases of sedentary immobility. But here's what I wanted to talk about. Look at the step one and the surmount. These two studies, they were using incretin mimetic drugs. So they were using the GLP-1s here. And if you look, very, very unfortunate. Look at the amount of lean body mass that was lost compared to the placebo group. That is astonishing. 5 times greater loss of lean body mass in those that were taking the GLP-1 receptor agonists, the Wegovy, the Ozempic, liraglutide, semaglutide, tirzepatide, whatever you want to call them. So when they were taking the GLP-1 shots, massive reduction in their lean body mass. Guess what, people? That is tragic. You do not want to have that happen. So what can we do to safeguard against it? And one of the reasons that was going on, we call it muscle atrophy. They were losing their muscle, but they were also experiencing something called anabolic resistance. Anabolic, like the name implies, if you've heard of anabolic steroids, it's our body's ability to lay down new lean body mass. That's really good, especially as we age and particularly during periods of growth and development. We want young boys and girls to have anabolic sensitivity. But we have anabolic resistance naturally as we get older. Here, while we're taking GLP-1s, it's magnified. It's almost like on steroids, the opposite of what we want in terms of the steroid being anabolic. It's a steroid that's, not allowing us to lay down healthy new lean muscle mass. So the point here is the body becomes very resistant to helping produce and safeguard against this loss of lean body mass. We call it anabolic resistance. Next slide, please. All right, so here's what that does, and that's not good. And I just want to point this out because I think some people think, oh, what's the big deal, Dr. Paul? They lose a little bit of muscle mass. They're losing a lot of weight. Isn't that a good thing? No, it's tragic because when we lose any amount of our lean body mass, we subject ourselves and place ourselves at risk of some really serious health concerns. So when we lose this muscle mass, it's related and it's caused by this drop in our food intake, number one, especially as you see in the circle there, a loss of healthy, adequate protein. That is number one. You're already at a reduced appetite because of the GLP-1, so that's going to contribute to muscle loss. You have gastrointestinal. Some people experience vomiting, nausea, stomach discomfort. You don't have any energy. We already talked about that. Your energy expenditure plummets when you go on a GLP-1. So you have a reduction in your physical activity drive. You have then the recycling that weight recycling that takes place because of this drop in energy, this drop in lean body mass. And then you have these comorbidities of, like, for example, diabetes. And then, of course, just general aging. So these are the factors that are associated with this muscle loss. That are really compounded and kind of accelerated when we go on these GLP-1 agonists. Now, listen, I'm not against the GLP-1 agonists. I'm against not being coached and educated in how to properly use the GLP-1 agonist. That's what irritates me mostly about the healthcare system right now, is we do a terrible job, and I'll come right out and say it again. Our healthcare system is drastically broken in how we educate people who are on GLP-1 agonists or who have been on them and have come off. We say, oh, just eat healthy and go out and exercise. That means nothing. Telling somebody to eat healthy and go out and exercise means zero. That means nothing. We need to go way, way, way beyond that. So, all right, and you need to sleep as well. Next slide, please, because it disrupts your sleep. All right, so what we've done, we've played our role, isogenics, in our research, and you see two of the studies that I had the good fortune of being a part of. And so this is what we have available to us in comparison, and more importantly, not just comparison, support. This is what I want us to use as a group, all of you and everyone else that's not on this call. And hopefully you're going to share this with everyone and your sister and brother to help them. We need to get this message out because we have the solution. We do have the support that is necessary for these GLP-1s to operate better. Next slide. All right, so here's the comparison. Some of you have seen this before, but I just wanted to show it because it's so powerful, so enlightening. So I took the study that I just showed you. Here's the GLP-1 study, the 68 weeks. And guess what? They did 150 minutes of exercise per week. Listen to that, people. Not only were they taking a GLP-1 incretin, mimetic, agonist, whatever you want to call it, they were taking a GLP-1. At the same time, they were required to do 150 minutes of exercise a week. In our two studies, you see those in the last two columns. Guess what? This is without any exercise. So now just keep this in perspective. Look at the stark difference between these two sets of data. The body weight was nearly identical. The body weight that was lost, 30 pounds in 68 weeks. We lost... Our study participants lost 25 pounds in 12 weeks. You see the majority of what they lost in our studies were body fat, which was good. That's what you want to lose. They had a massive increase in the proportion of their lean body mass. That's phenomenal. And their visceral fat, that's so directly related to disease and the diseases of aging that you've heard me all talk about, those 5 diseases of aging. Look at this. Dropped by 2 pounds, twice what it did in a whole year on the GLP-1 agonist without the proper education of what they should be doing. Every time I look at this data, I'm like, oh my gosh, do we have a solution that can work in spades in helping people who are either currently on a GLP-1 agonist or who have recently come off a GLP-1 or who are considering or thinking about going on a GLP-1? Heck yeah, we got the absolute gold standard of a solution. Next slide. All right, so I wanted to show this because I don't emphasize this enough. In our study, we actually followed them for a full year. So we did essentially what the other GLP-1 studies did. I highlight the short-term data just because it's so compelling. But check this out, everybody. You saw the rocket ship that took off after they went off the GLP-1. Remember? Yeah, you did. You saw that rocket ship. Their weight went right back on. Well, guess what? We compared it to the heart-healthy Mediterranean diet. Yes, GLP-1 is Ozempic. And check this out. Look at this. When you look at the body weight here, the body weight stayed the same over the entire course of the follow-up year when they were following the isogenics, the protein pacing, intermittent nutritional fasting with the shakes and the cleanse days using the 30-day system. That's amazing. Yes, it is crazy. This is amazing that this happened. And look at this, the Heart Healthy Mediterranean group, they had the rocket ship taking off. They were having the weight regain. So just like to follow the little brick road, is that what it's called? The little brick road. Yeah, in Wizard of Oz. I was trying to do a little analogy. So we're going to follow the dotted line and check it out in the next slide. Next slide. Again, look at this. This is amazing. I get so ramped up. I hope you are too. You should be gyrating in your seats like I am right now. This one on the left is showing the lean body mass percentage. Look what happened. At the end of a year, the isogenics group that was doing the 30-day system with the protein pacing, intermittent nutritional fasting, they had a continued increase in their proportion of lean body mass. The dotted arrow is going up. They had an increase after a full year. Look at the Heart Healthy Mediterranean group. They actually went down. So they were continuing to lose their healthy, metabolically active lean body mass. And then to just close the door on this, there should be absolutely no questions. Of course, you can have questions. But I'm just saying because it's so awesome that this data we have. Look at this at the end of the year. They continue to lose abdominal body fat, that fat that deposits around our vital organs. The isogenics, 30-day system, protein pacing, intermittent nutritional fasting continue to drop body fat a year later. And look at the Heart Healthy Mediterranean, they started to increase. Holy cow. It's awesome, people. We could end right there, but I'm not, because the best is yet to come. Check this out. Listen, when you want to engage, yes, more muscle, less fat. That's absolutely is what happened. And that's what those two figures showed. No debate about it. We want more muscle, less fat. If you want health, more muscle, less fat. All right, so the ideal obesity treatment strategy with these GLP-1s, that's what the IMD stands for. You want it to result in a reduction in your adipose tissue. You want it to reduce your obesity-related complications. Of course, those are the 5 diseases of aging that you see right there. And then you want it to preserve your lean body mass. And guess what? The only available way to do this is through proper nutrition education. And guess what? Isogenics has the solution. We have the solution. We can combat this loss of lean muscle mass and increase in body fat that occurs when people go on these GLP-1 injections. Next slide, please. All right, so the crosstalk between GLP-1s and the gut microbiota. This was an important question that we had. We wanted to see what effect nourishing the gut has in helping people lose this weight, maintain their lean body mass, and do it in a way that really protects them against these diseases of aging that are so commonly associated, and more than that, to have them undergo a healthy weight loss that we said at the beginning of this webinar. That's the goal here. We want healthy weight loss. Next slide. So we sought to do this. One of the things that we did, next slide. Yeah, we ended up doing a study, and some of you are familiar with it. It was published in Nature Communications. We actually highly scrutinized and measured and quantified what change was happening in the gut microbiome at the time these people were consuming either the 30-day system with protein pacing and intermittent nutritional fasting, using the shakes and the cleanse, versus a group that was simultaneously following the Heart Healthy Mediterranean diet. And let's see the results. Next slide. I know you've seen these, but let's follow the yellow arrow. Here's the gut microbiome, and here's what the previous research had showed. If you want to increase your body's GLP-1 health, so if you want to help boost your body's own GLP-1 activity, you know what you need to do? The previous research showed it. You need to boost the diversity of your gut microbiome. That is priority number 1. I'll say it again. If you want to boost your body's natural GLP-1, whether you're on the GLP-1 agonist injections or not, just to help your own body do its work better, why wouldn't you want to? That would be silly not to. We have the scientific evidence that we can boost the health of our gut microbiome, which in turn will help our GLP-1 work better. It's using the 30-day system with protein pacing, intermittent nutritional fasting. It is amazing. Yes, we'll get to triotic for sure. So look at this. The group that's in the blue, I guess, blue-green, looks like algae. It's kind of appropriate. It's kind of what your gut microbiome kind of has in it. Your microbiome, this is microbiome diversity on this left axis, y-axis right here. So the higher, the better. And guess what? The protein pacing intermittent nutritional fasting 30-day system is in the green-blue algae compared to the purple-pink, which is the heart-healthy Mediterranean. You tell me, which one do you want to have in terms of increased gut microbiome diversity and better GLP-1 activity? Of course you want the green algae, which would be the protein pacing intermittent nutritional fasting 30-day system. By a large margin, it's a 40% increase above the heart-healthy Mediterranean. That's still really effective. Look at it, went up significantly in the 8-week study. But at both 4 weeks and 8 weeks, it was a significantly higher amount of diversity following the 30-day system. That's amazing, which would then in turn increase your own body's activity of the GLP-1, doing its job better. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we got some nice awards. I think I shared this last time, maybe not, but Nature Communications rated it number 13 out of all of the papers that they accepted last year. They published over 3,000. We were ranked number 13. Wow, Isagenix, congratulations. Next slide. All right, so the Isagenix 30-day system with protein pacing intermittent nutritional fasting does all of these wonderful things. It increases your energy expenditure after you eat a meal. That's what DIT stands for. It stands for dietary induced thermogenesis. It's the increase in energy burning, calorie burning that we have after we've eaten a meal. So that's what we have an increase in. And look at this. The first one, GLP goes up. It's going to increase when you have high quality protein coming in. That's priority number one. But follow all the way over here to the right. You can see what it really does manifesting in terms of your overall health and your body composition. It increases your lean body mass. That's your fat-free mass. That's amazing. So that's what we have, and we have documentation. I've already showed you the slide. So it results in increased satiety. You reduce your food intake. You have increased energy expenditure, and you have favorable, healthy weight loss, where your body is losing body fat and maintaining or increasing its percentage of lean body mass or fat-free mass. Next slide. All right, so what do we have available to us to really optimize our body's endogenous, internal GLP-1 activity and help support the GLP-1 agonists or injections that people are getting? This is what we would use as our first line defense. If you want to put your best foot forward, if you want to put the greatest, most powerful, potent solution and support while you're on a GLP-1, or maybe thinking of going on one, or you've recently come off one, this is the way to do it right here. The protein pacing every 4 hours of 25 to 50 grams, first meal within the first meal of waking in the morning, last meal within 2 hours of going to bed at night. Yes, absolutely. You need 4 meals, small ones. They're not big ones. In fact, you won't be hungry. You'll be ultimately satisfied. Next slide, please. Then you need to counterbalance it with the optimal way the body can help support its natural detoxification and cleansing. You would do the 30-day, you would do the 1 or 2 days of the cleansing, the intermittent nutritional fasting. And you see that right here. This is the protocol that we used. You would take in the Cleanse for Life, 4 ounces 4 times a day. You would have the healthy snacks, primarily in the collagen bone broth. And then you would have the adaptogen-rich shake. Yes, 4 meals, not shakes. Yeah, you don't want to consume, thanks T-Mac. Yeah, you're not consuming 4 shakes all through the day. You're taking 1 shake in the morning, 1 shake in the evening, or at lunch or dinner, whichever, wherever you want to do it. Some people did 1 shake if you wanted to do 1 shake, but at least 1 shake a day. And we always encourage people to always start the day. The first thing they do is have an Isagenix isoline performance shake or the isoline shake. Absolutely. And then favorably or optimally, another one at the end of the day. We like to do what we call a bookend. But you can do it whatever works most convenient for you. And then you're eating really high quality protein pacing whole food meals, right? Pasture raised chicken, eggs, wild caught fish, grass-fed beef and pork and things like that. Absolutely, or really high-quality plant-based legumes and things of that nature. All right, this would be the cleanse day. So you're doing it 4 times. All right, so what are the optimal forms of natural food intake that we can consume to help boost our GLP-1? What does the science show in terms of boosting our natural GLP-1? Yeah, once you go on these meds, you're on them for life. That's the intention. That's what they were designed to do. I just want to put that out there. So if you or someone you know is on a GLP-1, I'm not necessarily advocating, again, to come off those injections. I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just saying that we have a solution to help support you at the highest level. If you're somebody who's considering doing it, potentially you could try this option first as a way to help boost your natural GLP-1. But at the very least, you should be doing this regardless, whether you're on it, you've been on it, or you're thinking of going on it. That's what we're suggesting here. So what about protein and GLP-1? You want the highest quality protein that your body can consume because of the amino acids. That's ultimately what the body recognizes. The body doesn't recognize protein. I know we talk about, hey, protein for the body. The body only recognizes the amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein, after you've eaten it. So yes, you do want to choose the highest quality protein, but that's just for us in the terms of the organoleptic, the savory, the mouthfeel, the smell, the taste. But when we have high quality protein, it's the amino acids that the body is responding to. That's what it wants. So we need to take in these more than anything. The highest quality protein, and here you have it. Here's the isoline performance shake, and then you have some support with the tri-release and the isopro. And again, those are not complete meals. These would be supplements, so they're smaller. That's why I made them smaller, because they're supplements to the isoline performance protein. All right, so you want to make sure that you're taking those in. Can you go back to that just for 1 second, Alfonso? Sorry, you're doing great. So meals with higher protein can enhance this GLP-1, and your goal is 25 to 50 grams. Awesome. Next slide. Okay. We also want healthy fats. So, we never want to shortchange. Listen, there's a saying in nutrition biochemistry: you need to eat fat to burn fat. Don't ever go on a low-fat diet. It would be very unhealthy. Your hormones wouldn't like you. Your nervous system wouldn't like you. Your immune system, so your hormonal, your nervous, your brain, central nervous system, they would let you know that you're not being smart. You don't want to ever go on a low-fat diet. You need to eat fat to burn fat, and it's super, super healthy for our nervous system, brain, spinal cord, our immune system, our hormonal system, our insulation of our body. So just make sure that you're never compromising. So fats stimulate what's called bile acid, which then produces the production of GLP-1 naturally. So eggs, awesome. Avocado, nuts, fatty fish, healthy grass-fed beef, olive oil, dairy, full-fat dairy. If you're not eating full-fat dairy, you need to go to the grocery store and start buying whole milk and whole yogurt. But guess what? We also have an additional support for you all with your natural production of GLP-1 with the highest quality omega-3 fatty acids in the ISA omega. I take mine without fail every morning and evening. Next slide, please. All right, so what about fiber? Here's one of the wonderful news. One of you posted triotic at the beginning, and thank you. Absolutely. So the fermentation of fiber in our gut is a massive support. People, I wrote it into the Nature Communication paper, by the way. The reviewers of our study said, what might be at play of how you're noticing this increased microbiome diversity? And other health benefits that you were seeing in your study subjects. And guess what I said? Listen, the shakes have resistant starch fiber. They have resistant fiber in them. So 100%, the shakes are a wonderful way to get that high quality fiber. But you also have Triotic, you have Smart Mix, you have Fiber Pro, and then of course Cleanse and Repair have things that are really helpful for increasing the GLP-1 production. Things like turmeric and curcumin, all of the amazing antioxidants from fresh fruits and vegetables. Those are abundant in these products that you have in front of you right here. So when we can ferment certain types of vegetables, plants inside of our gut, oh, that's a world of benefit. It's a bountiful production of really, really high quality what are called short chain fatty acids that then feed our gut and in turn help produce more GLP-1. So yeah, some of you said, you know, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your mom, your dad, your uncle, grandfather, they said, oh, they're going to go on the GLP-1 injections and stay on them until they get to their goal weight and then go off of them. Well, good luck. I mean, I just showed you I showed you the data of what happens. You're going to have a skyrocketing increase in your body weight and your fat mass. That's not good. So you can't just go off them and not do a healthy lifestyle strategy. And that's what I'm presenting to all of you tonight. This is your healthy strategy to do it. Can you put whole milk in your shakes? Oh my gosh, I wouldn't go a day without doing that. Yeah, absolutely you can or should. So yeah, that's an excellent source of nourishment. Adstogenics is the solution. Next slide, please. So that's it for me. You've all been wonderful. I hope that was beneficial. Gosh, I had such a great time preparing that. The data is so compelling. You know, it did remind me of something, though, that I just wanted to leave you with. You know, our body is designed to be so resilient, so nimble, so responsive. I call it, we call it in the scientific world, flexible. And when we talk about metabolic flexibility, that's our goal. We want our metabolism to adapt to various foods that we're eating, various environments that we're being placed in terms of energy intake, nutrients that we're consuming. We want to be flexible. When we lose our body's metabolic flexibility, our ability to adapt to different types of nutrients that we're eating, then that's when damage happens. That's when dysfunction happens. That's when disease happens. That's when things happen that we don't want to have happen with us. And I'm here to tell you that we do have some evidence to show, at least from a metabolic standpoint, the GLP-1 injections do lower our metabolic flexibility. They make us more inflexible. That's not good, people. GLP-1 injections contribute to anabolic resistance. So I'm here to tell you what I presented to you tonight is gold. It's gold for you all because you have the solution to maintain metabolic flexibility in the face of these GLP-1 injections and medications. They're very helpful for helping people lose this weight, but we have to make sure that we're educating people in doing it the right way. I showed you the two paths, and right now we're having way too many people going down the unhealthy path. So that's number one. The number two thing I wanted to leave you with is recovery. Kind of resilience in the form of, you know, we need to do more strategies, let our body recover to its full strength. And guess what? Sleep and getting out in natural light are two of the most effective ways for our body to recover its GLP-1 activity. So if you can get yourself into bed at a healthy hour and sleep the number of hours that we all should be sleeping, which is 7 to 8 hours a night, that is going to massively help increase your natural production of GLP-1, and then get out sometime between 7 and 10 in the morning or 4 to 6 in the evening. That's the circadian, recovery benefit of our GLP-1. Hey, you all have been fantastic. Thanks for having me. And I look forward to talking to you next week.